Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're gonna talk about AMD stock, especially after the price target cut from Frankly at HSBC. Now, Frankly doesn't have a great return when it comes to semiconductor space, although he says that he's an expert in this area. He has a 50% success rate. I would guide you rather to follow someone else if you wanna follow like professional analyst from Rosenblatt Securities, Mr. Hans Mosesman, with a 70% success rate. But please don't take the numbers for it. Just listen to what I'm gonna tell you now in the few minutes ahead. I've been following AMD for the past 10 years, since 2015. And if there's one analyst on Wall Street that I kind of really trust with price target, it's Hans Mosesman. Why? Well, he actually gives price targets of AMD ahead of time. Even if the stock price is at, let's say, 100, he's not scared to give you a price target of 250, which he did last year. Now, the difference is that the other guy, frankly, that cut the price target, and to be honest, I think this is, in a way, like uneducated investors that see this just price target the decreases and they sell the stock, right? Because if you follow in like this other guy, frankly, from HSBC, he has a peculiar kind of way of increasing and decreasing his price target when it comes to AMD. So when AMD was like at 227 US dollar in March, April last year, all of a sudden in April of 2024, he increased his price target. Yeah, you heard this right. He increased it to 225. Okay. And then in October, he reiterated to 220 US dollar. But interestingly, it's very interesting. Like if you go back to August of 2023, and you can see that the price of AMD stock in August of 2023 was essentially hovering around 100 to 110 US dollar. And you have to guess it. Like, please, for the love of God, guess what the price target he had. You guessed it right, 105 US dollar. So he's not telling you where the stock is going. He's like waiting there. This guy is probably paid millions and millions of US dollar a year or a month. And as the price changes, then he's kind of following. But remember, you're buying the stock to make money. You're not buying the stock to, with hindsight, tell people, now the price is 120, so my price target is 120 or maybe 115. That's not how it works. Now, please, if you want to follow AMD stock, look at Hans Mosesman, if you want a professional kind of guy to follow. But looking at my expectations, again, there's a lot of stuff happening. Finally, we have AMD going on, gas pedal now, especially when it comes to the laptop market. Why do I really focus on laptop market? Well, it's quite easy. If you look at it, you can see that ever since 2008, I mean, this is probably a longer trend, but around 2008, we didn't have any tablets in the market. We didn't have a lot of mobile laptops or mobile phones. And everyone or every family, every household had one or two like big desktop computers, the big like, I don't know, 50 centimeters in height and whatever, 20, 30 centimeters in width and so on. Now, as time goes on and as we are advancing in the node technology, in the manufacturing technology, we can see here, the transistors goes, even my table starts from 2014, but if you go back to like 2008, we're talking about 45 nanometer, 65 nanometer technology, and even higher. And so as the transistor decreases, we can get more or similar performance, but in a much smaller size, and consuming lesser watts. So this is what we are seeing. Like the desktop market is bleeding, and the mobile market, and remember when I'm telling mobile, I'm talking about laptops, tablets, phones, right? And everything else that is you can carry with you rather than this big chunky desktop that are like sitting you on a desk. So the mobile market is the future for sure. And desktop market will not go back to the heights that we saw 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They will lose market share year by year. There might be an odd year where they kind of regain or stabilize the bleed, but in the longest of terms, 5-10 years in the future, desktop will just for sure lose market share, especially in the consumer market. No one wants a big chunky desktop. Even, for example, me that previously was a kind of more geeky gamer, still I'm not using a desktop anymore. Over the past 3 years, I'm doing a laptop. It does everything I want it to do. Why do I bother and buy a desktop, right? AMD is really gonna be benefited by this trend in the market. So Strix Halo, we've been waiting for this for 2 years. I've been talking about this over the last year since I created my YouTube channel. Is a kind of combination of a CPU and a GPU and AI engine in one single chip from AMD. And it's not going to be the best CPU, it's not going to be the best CPU, GPU, or the best, it's going to be the best AI engine on the market currently, but it's going to be the best combination of it. Remember, like if you look at Apple's MacBooks, right? They don't have the best GPU, they don't have the best CPU, but the complete package is at such a high level. And the GPU is like a 8 out of 10, the CPU is a 8 out of 10, and everything is a like 9.5 out of 10. It's very power efficient. Now, if you want to buy a laptop, you can for sure go and buy a Intel based laptop that consumes 100 watt just only on the CPU. Maybe, I don't know, 100 watts on the GPU. That's 200 watts. Maybe in some special cases you plug it into the wall. You could get it up all the way up to 250 to 300 watts maybe. But that's not a laptop anymore, right? The power brick is quite huge, and that's for like 1% of the market. But most people, we want like small thin laptop that maximally, let's say, consumes 40, 50, 60 watt momentarily, but usually in the 10, 20, 30 watts. And it's going to have great battery life, and it's going to give you like 8 out of 10 performance on the CPU, 8 out of 10 in GPU, in video editing, in Photoshop, and all this other stuff. And this is what AMD Strix Halo is going to be doing. It's the first big APU from AMD challenging Apple on the Windows side, x86. And I think this is just the start of the space where AMD starts to gain market share on NVIDIA when it comes to the GPU side. It's not a pure dedicated GPU like NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a huge market share on the laptop side on the GPUs. In the desktop side, it's actually more even than people think. I think people say like AMD has 12% GPU market share, NVIDIA 88. Now on the desktop side, I would say it's probably 20, maybe even 25 to 30 in some countries for AMD, and 70 for NVIDIA, maybe 80 in some cases. But the issue that AMD has only 12% market share on the laptop GPU side is that, in combined, is because of the laptop market. AMD doesn't have any presence whatsoever essentially in the laptop GPUs. Maybe they have like 5 laptops globally that you can even buy, right, with AMD GPU. CPU, there's tons of them finally, but not on the GPU side. And they seem to struggle to get a foothold there. But what they can do is to do it this way with an APU, combined CPU, GPU, maybe sometimes in the future memory like Apple does, and an AI engine. And this is what Strix Halo is. And this is what's gonna, satisfy 98% of the market. Like even if you're a gamer, you're gonna be just fine. This Strix Halo GPU part of it is gonna perform probably like a 4060, 4070 NVIDIA GPU, which is essentially 85% of the gaming market even. So even if you're a laptop gamer, most people don't buy like a $4,000 NVIDIA 4090 mobile laptop. No, they buy a 4060 or 4070. Like me, myself, I have a 4060 based computer or laptop. And this is where Strix Halo is attacking NVIDIA. So that's why I'm very positive on AMD when it comes on some of their segments, other than the AI that everyone talks about every day, all day. We know that AMD has data center. Obviously, we know that the data center is continuing to develop very fast. We can see that if you actually look at the numbers here quickly, you can see that AMD's data center revenue was latest reported number was 3 billion. Yeah, 3.5 billion. But if you go back 1 year ago, they were 1.5 billion. So they're growing very fast, and expectations are, around 5 to 6 billion or quarterly run rate only on data center, of which more than half of it will come from AI GPUs, and the rest, maybe 40% from the traditional server CPUs. So the data center part of AMD is going to do great. Other than that, possible that there's going to be somewhat on a stagnation in Q1 and Q2 of 2025 with a nice ramp in second half of the year. I'm telling you that this is not for sure. I don't know. There are some people that are like hinting at a little bit of a slower pace for AMD on AI GPUs in the first 2 quarters of this year. I'm not sure if that's true, but at least I'm giving you a heads up for that. But in the long term, I think they're gonna gain a lot of market share. Now, all the other stuff about the mobiles that I talk about, the client part of AMD, I think they're gonna, start to really gain market. Like if you go higher up a little bit here, let's go to the latest earnings, Q3 of 2024, right? So in Q3 of 2024, they had a 6.8 billion revenue. the client was at 1.8 billion, right? For Q4, I'm expecting like closer to 2.1 billion US dollar in client revenue, and that's a record kind of number for AMD almost, because the only time they had this kind of numbers was in the hype cycle of 2021 and 2022. I think Q1 of 2022 they had like around 2.15 billion US dollar, but I think at some point this year, especially in the second half, I wouldn't be surprised if AMD get even 2.5 billion US dollar in client, due to all these products that they launched, especially on the mobile market. You know, Strix Halo, Kraken Point for the smaller laptops and like cheaper laptops, the mobile Ryzen CPUs and everything that they launch. You know, Fire Range, which is the mobile laptop high performance CPUs. So I really think that AMD is firing on all cylinders. And the other two segments that we briefly gonna mention, gaming, you know, I could say the PS5 Pro, the Xbox, the normal PS5. Also now with the newest generation of AMD RDNA 4 GPUs, gaming GPUs, although they are, you know, limited to the mid and little bit upper mid range of gaming GPU side. They're not gonna offer a high end competitor to Nvidia on that part. But I think it's going to be just enough to really gain a few hundreds of millions each quarter, based on the kind of very weak numbers that we had on Q3. We have to be honest, gaming revenue for AMD in Q3 was absolutely like really, really bad. 400 million. This is like, I cannot remember last time. They're at least in a bad quarter, usually 900 million. But now they've been at 600 and 400. But I think they're going to regain some momentum there. And the embedded, which is their FPGA business, the legacy Xilinx business, field programmable gate array business, that I think it's called, and that's gonna also gain a little bit of momentum as the automotive market is kind of gaining momentum, which means that the embedded is related quite a lot to automotive, but also healthcare. So I think this is a really, really great potential for AMD, unless, let's say, the entire market tanks for, you know, macroeconomic reasons. Of for sure, I mean, can I see this go to 80 US dollar? I mean, we're at 120. Yeah, I mean, if everything collapses, it's possible, but at 80 US dollar, this would be an absolute bargain in my opinion. Why? Well, AMD will have, in my opinion, at some point this year, second half of this year, maybe Q4, close to 10 billion US dollar. Now, these numbers that I have around 11 and 10 billion are already in Q3 and Q4. Might be a little bit optimistic, depends on how the data center segment will perform. I think they will perform just fine. But even if it's, you know, a 9 billion quarter in Q4 of next year, that's gonna still be like 2 billion or so more than expected Q4 numbers in a couple of weeks from now. So AMD is not slowing down. And most importantly, whatever they grow their revenue, their earnings per share is going to grow much faster, i.e. they're going to become more and more profitable. So no matter how you dice this onion, no matter how you look at this, and you can see also on this graph here with their expected revenues. Remember, we are currently expecting these numbers here in Q4 of 2024 numbers in a couple of weeks, and we are already in 2025. So no matter how you look at it, the blue part of the revenue will increase, and that's gonna give them like a lot of net income. They're gonna be like they're gonna grow a lot of cash flow for AMD in over this coming year. So do I think, like, what are my realistic earnings per share, right? So if you go to, and remember, I've been talking about these numbers over the past year now, that AMD will start to increase their earnings per share on a GAAP basis much faster than people believe, because everyone is telling, oh, but you know, yeah, sure, they're making non-GAAP quite a lot of money, but when it comes to GAAP numbers, then it's they don't make a whole lot of money, and you can see it here. Look at the difference. For example, you go Q3 of 2023, they make 18 cents in GAAP earnings per share, but on non-GAAP basis they make 70 cents. But as time goes on, the difference slows down. Currently, they made in latest numbers 47 cents GAAP, 92 cents non-GAAP, and I'm expecting to essentially by end of this year to get close to $1, maybe even $2 per quarter on GAAP earnings per share, which means that Do I think AMD can make $6 earnings per share this year? I think that's a quite high probability. And you're essentially buying a company at 20 times this year's earnings expectations. And we are in a AI bull market. No one seems to like slow down. I was a couple of years ago, I was kind of skeptic that maybe this would be like a 1 year or 2 year thing, but right now it doesn't look like it. It looks like AI is actually giving quite a lot of new advancements in all sorts of different industries. So yeah, I think honestly, I think this could be a gift, especially if you have like fresh cash on the side. But again, this is not investment advice. This was just my idea, and I think don't forget that don't follow someone like Frank Lee because he's following the market, right? He's changing his price target anytime the stock. I guarantee you, if we get good like macro numbers in the up and coming 1 or 10 days, 1 or 2 weeks, and if you see a momentum, and as we enter, let's say as we get close to the summer and the stock price of AMD maybe follows the rest and outperforms due to great Q4 and Q1 and Q3 numbers, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy again, like within 6 months, completely changes his price target. In fact, I promise you that if there isn't any macroeconomic complete crash or meltdown of the entire market, bar that, if everything goes as normal year, I would tell you that this guy will, with 85% certainty, change his price target from 110 to whatever the price of AMD is at the time. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today. And please don't forget, follow Hans Moses, man. This guy is legit. I've been following him for 10 years. If he changes his price target from 250 now to 100, then I will have to reevaluate, because this guy actually knows his stuff, and he's ranked number 4 out of almost 10,000 analysts on Wall Street. So I think he knows his stuff. Anyway, so I'm also just gonna tell you that I finally got the new microphone and I believe it's better. Please comment in the comment section. So thank you for your time. Please like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.